Do you ever watch Scott Adams' daily live stream? He almost never misses a day. At the moment, he's at an expensive Greek island resort with his beautiful wife. But after flying all night, he still took time to go live for a few minutes. He didn't bother to get into any news commentary like he usually does. But what he did make time for was a little daily ritual that he never misses. It's called the simultaneous sip. This is where all of his viewers are encouraged to sip their beverage of choice at exactly the same moment. It always begins with him promising that this will be the best moment of the day, followed by a little chanted description and culminating with the sip itself.
Well, I think it's time. Time for what? Yes, the simultaneous sip, and all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug, or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day. The thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. And it's going to happen now all over the universe at the same time. Go.
Adams is known for the Dilbert comic strip he writes, but also for his deep interest in the science of persuasion. I started watching him on occasion about a year ago, and by about the third time I thought, you devil you, you're opening every show with the brainwashing technique. But after watching him about 15 or 20 times, I found myself fixing a cup of coffee and then sipping just when he did. I knew that this was silly, but I did it anyway. It felt good to be doing a group ritual as instructed by the leader of the meeting, even when I was watching a replay of the show. He had programmed me using the built-in desire of all humans to belong to a group. Adams is doing some sort of long-form demonstration. His viewers see themselves as free thinkers, but he's showing them that in spite of their intelligence and education, and even though he's always talking about persuasion techniques, they can still be brainwashed. The word brainwashed is a slight exaggeration, of course. Adams isn't forcing himself on anybody, but he is implanting in his viewers a desire to start their day watching his show. He's offering them membership in a group and the promise that, if they follow along, they'll be better off than if they hadn't. My urge to sip on cue serves as a reminder that I too can be programmed. I used to drink heavily. I had all kinds of problems because of that. By 1991, I ended up in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was pretty defeated. I was looking for something to save me. But I was also suspicious. Every meeting opened with readings from the AA scripture, and then, after people took turns confessing their failings for an hour, we'd close by chanting a prayer while gathered in a circle holding hands. I thought, I don't know, this feels a little bit like a cult. But I stuck around long enough to meet some smart people. I asked one of them if this wasn't all just a form of brainwashing. He said, of course, but your brain can obviously use a good scrub. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here trying to stay sober. He explained that we were sort of counter-indoctrinating ourselves and each other. We had come to believe that we couldn't live without the pleasure and escape of alcohol. Over time, this led us to believe that we were hopeless losers. We had, in effect, brainwashed ourselves. The 12 steps were a way of getting us to believe something very different about ourselves and our lives. He told me a little mind control might not be the worst thing for an out-of-control mind. AA people refer to their way of life as working the program. In my time with them, I was reprogramming myself. Ever wonder why AA has 12 steps? Ever wonder why there are 12 people on a jury, 12 inches to a foot, 12 days of Christmas? From what I understand, it has to do with Israel having 12 tribes and Jesus having 12 apostles. The number 12 is associated with holiness in Judeo-Christian culture. These associations probably root back to the moon going through 12 cycles before returning to the same point in the seasonal rotation. The ancients knew about that long before science. Imagine shepherds lying on their backs gazing into the starry night. What a sense of mystery they must have felt. It's no coincidence that there are also 12 signs to the zodiac. 12 is sort of a magic number tied to the heavens, where of course God is said to dwell. All things 12 are implied to have a touch of the divine. Why did Jordan Peterson choose 12 rules for life for his first self-help book and 12 more rules for his second one? Why not 11? Why not 13? Because Jordan Peterson knows a thing or two about persuasion himself. In the winter of 2012, I took my 2 televisions down to the recycling center and swore off another form of mind control. I knew that every television show, every program, existed for the purpose of delivering hundreds of millions of eyeballs to the best mind control operation ever devised. By that I mean the American advertising industry. But still today, as I pick and choose my viewing on a laptop, dodging pop-up ads by the thousands, I'm completely aware of the brainwashing going on inside of many videos I watch. The algorithms know my biases and serve me up what they think will grab my attention. A few months after trashing my TVs, I found myself deeply disillusioned by the party I belonged to then. I was always questioning one or another point of doctrine embraced by my Democrat friends. I noticed that each one of them held exactly the same positions on every popular issue. On Facebook, as I moved to the right, I'd often challenge one of the progressives who were trying to shame me back into compliance. I'd say, list 10 important issues and I will accurately guess your opinion on all 10. Some took me up on it, and I never did worse than 90%. Now, after 9 years on the other team and 4 years as a conservative commentator of sorts, I'm trying to stick to the values I was raised with, even as the party of conservatives splits itself in half. There is a new type of Republican. They have their own narratives, which are passed around on the internet, and they are gunning for any Republican who isn't on board with these new doctrines. Right now, I'm reading up on Mao's so-called Cultural Revolution, the stories of public shaming sessions, book burning, destruction of temples, and everything reminiscent of life before Mao. The violent excesses of the Red Guards are terrifying. I think of left-wing protesters tearing down statues last summer and so-called anti-racists trying to rewrite our history with critical race theory and the 1619 Project. The forced public confessions that go along with cancel culture. The fear I've long seen on the left, and the fear I now see on the right, as crowdsourced theories quickly turn into dogma and old-school conservatives watch the grand old party dissolving before their eyes. We know for certain that Democrats are brainwashed by CNN and MSNBC and Vox and BuzzFeed and Mother Jones. We know that the Democrat-controlled schools are indoctrinating our children, and that the woke messaging in films and TV shows is even more propaganda coming from left-wing sources. But how many of us are ready to admit that mind control works on all humans, not just on Democrats and school kids? How many of you are like me, ready to start fighting our own tendency toward groupthink? How many are digging past the clickbait headlines and carefully edited video clips to find the whole story with its original context? I hope that I'm not alone here at the end of this video talking into an empty void, while all of those who clicked in at the beginning have headed for a more reliable source of red meat to fuel the furnace of partisan hatred. I've already lost half my viewers since November for the sin of reaching an independent conclusion rather than adopting the narratives of the Republican insurgency. Individualism is on the run even where individualism is most admired. I hope I'm not alone. If I'm not, and you too are pretty damn tired of being expected to parrot a narrative, subscribe and stick with me. There are very real reasons to oppose the left-wing ideologues who are chipping away at our traditions and our liberties, and also those who are destroying conservatism from within. To do this effectively, we'll need to keep all of our wits about us. Let's stick together and keep an eye out for brainwashing. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.